Salted duck egg is one of those traditional foods that sits at the intersection of preservation, nutrition, and culinary intensity. It is not something you stumble upon casually, nor is it the type of food you can forget once you've tasted it. Crack it open, and you're greeted with a firm white that's brined to near translucence and a golden orange yolk so rich and oily it glistens like molten amber. The flavor? Bold, unapologetically salty, and thick with the density of fat and umami. It's a food that doesn't whisper. It commands your attention. At its core, the salted duck egg is a nutritional paradox. On the one hand, it's rich in essential minerals like selenium, phosphorus, and calcium. The egg yolk, in particular, contains high-quality protein, healthy fats, and fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, and E. This makes it more than just a flavor enhancer. It's a potent source of nourishment. The density of the yolk is partly due to the salting process, which draws out moisture and concentrates the fats and flavors. This transformation, over the course of several weeks in brine or salted clay, is a form of ancient food science, one that predates refrigeration and relies on time, salt, and nature to do the work. The result is a food that has stood the test of time, particularly in parts of Asia, where salted duck eggs have been consumed for centuries not just as a dish, but as an ingredient in mooncakes, congee, and rice porridge. They're used sparingly, often paired with plain or subtly flavored foods to balance their strength. But therein lies the challenge. For the modern, salt-conscious eater, this delicacy can be overwhelming. The sheer saltiness of a well-made salted duck egg can shock the tongue, dry the mouth, and linger long after the last bite. It's not just seasoned, it's saturated. That sodium content is no small issue. One salted duck egg can contain more than half of the recommended daily limit for salt intake, and for people with hypertension, heart disease, or kidney problems, this could tip into dangerous territory. The eggs are preserved through salt, after all, and the brining process is meant to ensure shelf stability, not gentle seasoning. Consuming these regularly or in large quantities without awareness could put real strain on the body's systems. Water retention, increased blood pressure, and stress on the cardiovascular system are very real risks. It's a food that must be approached with respect, moderation, and knowledge. The texture is another dividing line. That yolk, dense, gritty, almost crumbly at times, is not what most people expect when they think of an egg. It can be jarring, especially when served cold or sliced into a dish without context. The fatty mouthfeel, while luxurious to some, is unpleasant to others, especially in a culture increasingly trained to fear fat. Yet, ironically, the fats in duck eggs, particularly when they are free-range or naturally raised, can be rich in omega-3s and contribute to brain health, hormone balance, and cellular function. The issue is not the fat itself, but the modern fear of it, compounded by the egg's intense saltiness. But despite these obstacles, despite the sodium, despite the texture, despite the strong flavor, salted duck eggs endure. And not just because they're preserved, but because they preserve something deeper, the knowledge that food can be functional, cultural, and bold all at once. They remind us that taste wasn't always about indulgence. It was about necessity. The salting of an egg was once a way to ensure survival through hard times, a way to store protein and nutrients in a world without freezers or processed meals. The fact that it happens to taste rich, complex, and unforgettable is not just a bonus, it's part of why it lasted. For those willing to try it, salted duck egg offers more than just a culinary experience. It offers a challenge to your senses and your assumptions. Can you handle something so salty that it overpowers a dish unless used sparingly? Can you embrace a texture that isn't smooth or fluffy, but solid and fatty? Can you see value in a food that isn't designed for modern snacking, but for real nourishment, steeped in tradition? There's a kind of emotional honesty in a salted duck egg. It doesn't hide what it is. It was never made for comfort or convenience. It was made to last, to feed, to fortify. And if that means it's a little too much for some, too salty, too rich, too strange, then maybe that's exactly why it matters. Because in a world of increasingly hollow foods dressed up in shiny packages, here is something old, bold, and real. You don't eat it because it's easy. You eat it because it's worth the effort. And that's a flavor we could all stand to rediscover.